I'd like to share with you in this brief recording a personal reflection on my understanding of why does a God of love allow little children to suffer. So many times I have heard that question put to me, both as a Catholic nursing monk when I was nursing in my professional life, and now as an enclosed contemplative interfaith Franciscan. I get numerous emails from people around the world distraught at why a loving God should tolerate such injustice to little children, in particular, as Jesus mentions in the New Testament, suffer these little ones to come to me. I have no academic answers to give you other than what my heart is saying, and that as a God of love, He does not condone children to a life of poverty or slavery, and that the injustices carried out by mankind towards little children is man-made. It's not God-given. And I believe that as a God of love, I endorse everything that God says to my heart. And I know, for example, when we have the wonderful programs on British TV for helping children, for responding to the various TV appeals to help the children in Africa or disaster areas around the world, as a small nation, and we are a small nation in comparison to other countries like America and Australia, we know that despite the recession, we're in the top 2 who dig deep into our pockets, and we give generously. The Children in Need TV programme here in the UK early this year raised millions of pounds to help many projects in the world to support children. But what has happened in the past, and possibly is still happening in the present, is that a God of love touches our hearts to respond generously. And we give unconditionally. But then it's the chain, isn't it? The funding is given with full consent, with a clear understanding that we are giving to support a worthy cause. But then the funding may be misused along that chain by corrupt governments or individuals who will cipher funding for malicious means. So that implies to me that a God of love has given each of us a clear understanding of our actions. We are given free will to choose to embrace the light of truth or to surrender to our animal instincts and feed our greed. And I know that money has been misappropriated by various corrupt individuals, and the poor children, the starving children, the needy children, have not received the donations given in love. So what's that saying? It's saying to me loud and clear that God is not a corrupt God, that God does not allow us to suffer, that God cares for us with an unconditional, selfless love, that God embraces us through the generosity of others who are willing to walk as prayer partners with God. Let me explain. 5 years ago, I was invited to do a live interview with the BBC here in the UK, and we were talking about angels. We were talking about angels being the messengers of God, a God of love. And towards the end of the program, interestingly, we took some live telephone calls. One of them was an irate gentleman who was quite frugal with the truth, and he really got stuck into blasting us about this so-called God of love, and these angels were a joke. So I listened to him ranting and raving, and when he'd finished, I just said, I have no answers for you other than that the angels of God are messengers of love. And he mentioned about the children starving in Ethiopia. And I just explained to him what I've just shared with you, that God touches our hearts to give. Many are invited to give, but only a few respond. But like I said to him, as I'm sharing with you now, we give generously. We've no idea how that money is going to be used. We don't know the process in which it will be transferred and delivered to the needy groups and causes, but we give in love, and we trust the messengers of God to do likewise. But then at the other end, we discover that money has been abused, that money that was earmarked for food, for clothing, and for medical care has not been given because corrupt individuals and corrupt governments have misused that kind generosity for their own selfish ends. So I explained to the caller that we can't blame God for the inappropriate actions of others, now can we? So I truly do believe that there is a God who is a loving God, and he sees our needs, and he brings people into our life for a purpose, to support us, to care for us. But then we have the choice. Do we receive it or do we reject it? And again, it's down to free will. But I would not be living this life, a life of simplicity, a life of detachment from materialism, the life as an enclosed contemplative interfaith Franciscan, where I've offered my life to God in service to Christ for a better world, a unified world, a world who come back to their heart, who abandon religious dogma that no longer serves their highest good, dogmas which alienate them from a loving God. So I have to be clear in my own heart that the life I'm living, though I don't see the results of my efforts and my daily struggles with depression and the difficulties I have in prayer, I trust in my heart that what I am doing is what my heart has guided me to do. My head, on the other hand, is saying, I'm a fool. I should be out there strutting my stuff on the world stage, running retreats, feeding my ego, winning disciples, creating cliques. No. But I know, trust me, that there is a God of love, and that he does hear our prayer, and that he does respond in a loving, magnanimous way to support his children. And I, for one, can testify to that, because 12 years ago, when I lost my dear friend Eddie, a fellow monk, a beautiful friend of 28 years, who died of cancer aged 42, his death had a profound impact on me that necessitated that I be put on Prozac, which introduced me to mental illness where I lost everything. But God didn't abandon me, and he won't you. So trust and have courage. Bless you.